Namaskar. Today, on this momentous occasion of the Pran Pratishtha of the Ram Mandir at Ayodhya, I'm going to share some very interesting points with you. I was having a discussion with my Jyotish Guru, K.N. Rao sir, today in the evening, and he was reminiscing of the past. He said, I was born in 1931 and I've seen independence. You were not even born then. You don't know what we have gone through. And I heard him and he said, you must share what I'm telling you today on your channel. And I said, I of course will. So I'm sharing some excerpts of our discussion today with some points that I've added to it to round off the conversation. He said, today when I saw Prime Minister Narendra Modi at this great pilgrimage of Ayodhya, after doing this ritual, he came out and addressed the crowd. And he said, I felt that India has come of age when I saw and I heard that magnificent speech that was delivered by Prime Minister Narendra Modi today. Drawing a parallel of what we saw today with 1951, when the Jeernodhar of the Somnath temple had happened and the first president of independent India, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, had to go and inaugurate it. But Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru was not happy to send Dr. Rajendra Prasad for that inauguration. Let's draw a parallel with that incident to what happened in the May of 1951. It's a different thing that Dr. Rajendra Prasad did go and did inaugurate. But this has been historically chronicled that Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru did not want this to happen. He did not want the president to go for the Jeernodhar or the inauguration ceremony of the Somnath temple at Gujarat. Cut to 2024, 22nd January, we have the Prime Minister of India involved in the Pran Pratishtha ceremony, involved in the puja rituals of the Ram temple, and then he comes out and addresses the nation. Rao sir says he has lived through this hypocrisy since he was born in 31 and he's gone through it. He said, I was 16 when India got its independence. He said, and today when I heard the speech, I felt that the hypocrisy of Jawaharlal Nehru and Indira Gandhi had been buried deep under the sea. That this nation had finally come of age. And he said, to my mind, the parallel that I was drawing to the Somnath temple, to that inauguration, when the government or the Prime Minister was not ready to even send someone to inaugurate it. When I say send someone, I mean the President to inaugurate it. To this day, comparing it to this day, when the Prime Minister himself took the onus on him for the ceremony that happened at the Ram Mandir today. Finally, a leader who has asserted the eternal heritage of Sanatan Dharma. Let's not forget the education ministers that have influenced the textbooks of our great nation, where we have adulated the conquerors, but we have nothing to say about our great kings in our history books that we teach our children, who are enslaved from the very beginning, from childhood. They learn to adulate and to understand that the conquerors were great, but they never get to know about our history, our real history. I won't get into the details, but if we look at the education ministers that we have the education ministers that we've had in the formative years after independence, they have had a lot to do to the perversions created in our history textbooks. And well, for many, many years they were never corrected, and now we are taking and making the right effort. During emergency, the then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi made this 42nd amendment to the preamble of the Constitution, and it became socialist and secular. These two words were added. At the behest of her, I shouldn't probably use the word behest, but she had two advisors who led her in making this decision. Those two advisors were P.N. Haskar, who was her principal secretary for 2 years, and P.N. Dhar, who was heading her secretariat. Both Kashmiri Hindus. Interesting point to be noted. Who were instrumental in advising, and they were top advisors to Mrs. Gandhi, her closest advisors. And then this 42nd amendment, as I said, you can check. These are historical facts. They can be validated through data that's already available. And socialist and secular, the words were added to the preamble of the Constitution, which were not originally there. I have shared this in some of my previous videos as well, when I have discussed the Republican Chart of India, and I have said that India will soon assert her identity and will become a Hindu Rashtra. A lot of people say that you should not be saying this Rashtra or that Rashtra. Well, okay. Well, let's just look out of our windows, look at the world. We have more than 158 Christian countries and more than 55 Muslim countries. But the only Hindu country that you want to say that, well, you are secular. Do the Christians, where they are in majority, do they say these are not Christian countries, these are secular countries? No. Do the Muslims in their majority nations, do they say these are secular countries? No, we mustn't call them Muslim? No. But in India, we must call it a secular country, the only Hindu country. We must now gobble up her Sanskriti, gobble up her ancient culture, heritage. And well, when nothing remains, this too will either become this or that. The sooner we wake up, the better it is for us. After Prime Minister Narendra Modi's speech, CNN had a very interesting headline. It said, Modi hails a divine new India after consecrating the controversial Ram Mandir. Shri Ram is at the very core of the belief system of our country. At the very core of our belief system. As Prime Minister Narendra Modi said in his speech, राम रस का आचमन तो हम प्राचीन काल से ही कर रहे हैं. राम तो इस देश की आत्मा है. Which is a fact. But there are controversial headlines, and CNN is just an example, that the controversial Ram Mandir has been consecrated. Really? Is it controversial? That we are now asserting our identity, is that controversial? It also reminds me of the 1893 speech of Swami Vivekananda at the World's Parliament of Religions, where he said that I'm proud to belong to a religion which has taught the world tolerance and universal acceptance. There he was introducing Hinduism to America and telling them to give up fanaticism. He also mentioned that India has been the motherland or a mother with open arms to religious refugees of the world. Early Muslims, early Christians, Jews, Parsis have all come to India, and India has accepted them with open arms. They knew that they could practice their religion without any fear because we accept all. Why? Because we believe in the saying, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti. Truth is one, but wise men speak of it in various ways, in different ways. We understand that. There is no religious persecution in India. We accept everybody. The Jews came to India, the Parsis came to India, Muslims and Christians came to India, and we let them be. And now the point has come where we accepted everybody with open arms. But that cannot be our weakness. That our identity gets diluted because we accept everybody. In Babar Nama, those pages are missing where the destruction of the Ayodhya Ram Mandir is mentioned. You are worshipping in Rameshwaram. You are accepting that Ram worshipped Shiva in Rameshwaram, but you are not accepting that there was ever an Ayodhya. You are accepting the Ram Setu because even Google Earth is telling you that there is Ram Setu. And a few centuries back, it was visible as well. Anyway, the perversions of the textbooks need to be corrected, and it's high time. I've written the points that I discussed with Rao sir. I'm just going through them so that I share the whole piece with you as well. The speech of Prime Minister Narendra Modi today of a Samarth Saksham Bhavya Divya Bharat, where he referred to Jatayu's unswerving devotion to the call of duty, where he knew that he could never overpower the mighty King Ravan, but yet he fought because that was his duty. That is the essence of who we are. Ma Shabri was referred to in the Prime Minister's speech of her absolute devotion to her Guru and the Lord, to Rishi Matang, who told Shabri that keep on doing what you're doing. One day the Lord will come. It is said that Shabri was again in that hutment, and when Ram came, she did not realize. She did not realize that the Lord has come. She heard the words of her guru Rishi Matang, who had taken Mahasamadhi by then, that the Lord has come. And she realizes that the Lord is there. Shri Ram has come. In his speech, Prime Minister Modi said, देव से देश और राम से राष्ट्र की चेतना का विस्तार. And here I will share a very interesting point with you. राम से राष्ट्र की चेतना का विस्तार, which means the collective consciousness of this country will rise. And I will share a point here. You become the consciousness that you align with. You become the consciousness that you worship. Shivoham, Shivoham, Shivoham is an example of that. I am that, I am that, I am that. I am Shiva, Shivoham. You become the consciousness that you align with. You become the consciousness that you worship. You become the consciousness that you consume. And how do you consume a consciousness? When you eat the flesh of an animal, and I'm not here recommending any vegetarianism or non-vegetarianism, I am just sharing a point. When you eat the flesh of a certain animal, that flesh belongs to a certain of a creature of a certain consciousness. When you consume the flesh, you also consume the consciousness. That consciousness is lower than human consciousness. Your consciousness will therefore get diluted when you consume a lower order consciousness. That is why it is said that beef should not be eaten. Why? Because the cow has a very high order consciousness. When you consume a very high order consciousness and you are not able to overpower it, and your own consciousness is not able to overpower that consciousness, it will lead to schizophrenia. It will lead to a mental imbalance. A lot of people will find great merit in arguing and debating on this point. Well, I'm not here. Just take what I'm saying. If you like it, keep it with you. If you don't like it, discard it. If you don't belong to a certain consciousness order, you will not be able to accept the truth very easily. You will argue and you will debate. I am neither let it go. I'm just sharing a point. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't work for you, discard it. But this is the truth. Now that Shri Ram, the Ram temple has been consecrated. A lot of people say, in an idol, how do you find the Lord? When Pran Pratishtha happens, the Vayu Chakra is activated in that deity. It is not just an idol of the base element. This I can detail some other time. The Pran Pratishtha and the process of the Vayu Chakra getting activated. This is not just when a temple gets consecrated, it is not just a temple. It is the consciousness of the deity that is getting consecrated. Here the consciousness of Shri Ram has gotten consecrated. And when that consciousness will be consecrated, which it already has today, then the consciousness of the nation, the collective consciousness of Bharat as a country will rise. And that is what that line, Ram se Rashtra, Dev se Desh or Ram se Rashtra ki Chetna ka Vistar hoga. That is what it means. We become the consciousness that we consecrate. We become the consciousness that we align with, that we worship and that we consume. And I just explained how it happens, how the process of when we consume an animal, what happens? We consume the consciousness as well. We are not just consuming flesh. The choice is yours completely. It also reminds me what Prime Minister Narasimha Rao had said many, many moons back. He had said, we can fight the BJP, but we can't. How can we fight Lord Ram? And I thought that was a wise congressman. But then somewhere, with the Congress not even coming for that ceremony, you can be the opposition of this country. You can have your own axe to grind, but you can't fight Lord Ram. You can fight a party, but you can't fight Lord Ram. This creates karma. Blasphemy is also a karma. And all karma boomerangs with its effect. Generations to come will remember what we have done today. Today was a very, very important day. A day which came after a lot of bloodshed and sacrifice. This is no ordinary day. As was said in the Prime Minister's speech, Kaal Chakra badlega, and this truly will herald an era of a magnificent, stupendous rise for Bharat. And this I am telling you astrologically as well, from the horoscope of the Indian independence chart and the Republican chart. But when the Kaal Chakra moves, conflict happens as well. The churn is going to happen, and the churn is going to happen very, very soon. We have always been accepting and tolerant. But when we assert our identity, because this is the country that accepted all. But now that our identity itself was diluted. Look at Rao sir was mentioning this to me. He said, look at the names of the roads in Delhi. Are any mentioning one of our great kings, our great people? None. None. While we were accepting, we were taken advantage of. We were trampled upon. And today, and I'm quoting Rao sir here, he said, today I felt that as a Hindu, I felt that, well, this country is mine. That finally in my own country, I could get that piece of land and now consecrated, which rightfully belonged to me. I had to fight in my own country for more than 500 years to consecrate that temple, which was at the very core of my belief system. Why did it take so much of sacrifice in my own country? It could have been done easy. It could have been done easily. But no, it was not made easy for us. ancient scripture called Ishwar Samita says that there is no issue. Let me put it another way. Let me rephrase it. That the Garbhagriha of the temple is constructed and ready. The Prana Pratishtha can happen. Yes, the temple has not been constructed fully, but that does not hamper the Prana Pratishtha process. If the Garbhagriha is absolutely ready and done, then the Prana Pratishtha can happen. The ancient scriptures say so. While I shared something of Prime Minister Narasimha Rao with you, where I've just said that he said we can fight a party but we can't fight Lord Ram. That was a wise man saying so. The Foreign Minister K. Natwar Singh and wrote in his autobiography that he once went to Afghanistan with Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, and it's written in his autobiography, "One life is not enough." That is the name of his autobiography. He says that he went to Afghanistan with the Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, and she insisted on visiting Babur's grave. When she visited the grave, he said she goes a few steps ahead of him while he stands behind her. In silence, she stands there and then looks back at him and says, "This is from where our history began." This is quoted in K. Natwar Singh's autobiography, "One Life is Not Enough."